Welcome to Just Energy Radio with your host, naturopath and medical intuitive, Dr. Rita Louise. We have learned from Einstein's theory that matter and energy are one. Physicists believe that all systems in nature have their own particular way of vibrating. From the swinging of a pendulum to the waves of the ocean to the light that brightens the sky each day, each of these oscillates at its own unique rate. The same holds true for every thought, feeling, event, or word we speak. Each has its own frequency or rate of vibration. What many of us don't realize is when we take everything in our universe down to its simplest form, it is all just energy. Join Dr. Rita Louise on a journey through time and space where past, present, and future collide. Today, what you believe may be called into question. What we want to know is, who made up the rules? Be brave and step outside the box. We are about to turn our world upside down and venture into the unknown. Hold on. We are departing our own beliefs and entering alternative realms. Enjoy the possibilities.
Hello and welcome to Just Energy Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Rita Louise, and thank you all for tuning into the show tonight. Oh, yet another great episode. In the first hour, we're going to be speaking with Jennifer O'Neill about energy vampires. And in the second hour with Rick Delano about geocentrism. I guess we're all going to find out what that is. Just Energy Radio is brought to you by soulhealer.com, where you can find out about all the products and services I offer, including medical intuition, evaluations, energy healing, and psychic readings. So if there's things going on in your life that you need some help and assistance with, give me a call, send me an email, and we can set up a time for a private consultation over the phone, in person, and even via Skype. It's also brought to you by the Institute of Applied Energetics, where you can learn to become a medical intuitive, energy healer, or certified intuitive counselor. And right now, they're running a special. You can save 30%. That's 30% off all of their training programs just for the month of October. So check it out and start developing your intuition today. Couple of other quick announcements. A number of people have been interested in my movie, Icon, Deconstructing the Archetypes of the Ancients, and wondering when it's going to be released. Well, it is finally available on Amazon.com for digital download. If you want, the link is on my personal webpage, soulhealer.com. So just go to the shop and click through. And also, things always happen all at once for me. My book, E.T. Chronicles, is on the newsstand, so you can get a copy of that through the webpage on Amazon. Go to your local book dealer and have them order you a copy. Then they might put it on the shelf. That would be sweet. Anyway, trying to think. Let's see. In 2 weeks is History, Haunts, and Legend Conference in spooky Jefferson, Texas. I'll be there speaking, talking about this time, intuition. Will also be there doing readings. So if you are in the Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Oklahoma areas, come by, because Jefferson is a really cool town. It's a fun event. They do ghost hunting and a ghost walk in the evening. And so basically it is an all-day proposition. For more information, go to jeffersonghostwalk.com. Okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Jennifer and get her on the air so we can talk about energy vampires. Spiritual teacher and best-selling author Jennifer O'Neill is devoted to helping others learn how to live a happier life. She is the author of several books, including Soul DNA, Inspirational Quotes, Key to the Spirit World, The Pursuit of Happiness, and several other titles, scheduled to be released this year. Jennifer teachings are the most similar to Abraham Hicks, Eckhart Tolle's, and DeMartini. I'm not familiar with that person. The book we're going to be talking about tonight is Energy Vampires, and her website is HawaiianHealings.com. So please welcome to Just Energy Radio, Jennifer O'Neill. Hi, Jennifer.
Hi. How are you?
I am doing great. It's just exciting to have you on the show to talk about this topic. And I was on your website and hadn't realized that you've written so many books, but you have a lot of titles.
Yeah, I have a lot of titles. So Universal Laws, I've done one on that. A lot of on psychic and intuitive abilities and keys to the spirit world seems to be what everybody loves. Like that has been a hot seller for ever since I wrote the book.
Cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get into, the whole world of spirit and intuition and energy vampires?
Well, as you know yourself, it's interesting because people ask me that a lot, and it's not that I got into the world, it's that it was the world I live in, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And so it was that way ever since I was little. I didn't know there was a way not to be that way. So as I got older, and you'd tell your friends, well, you shouldn't be doing that. And they're like, well, why not? And you're like, well, because it's your intuition, I just know that's going to turn out badly. And they started thinking I was kind of crazy. And so then I started realizing there was something different about me. They weren't hearing spirits. They weren't in tune with their intuition, or they weren't having visions, psychic visions. And so I just began to talk to more people about it when I probably was in my 20s. I mentored with some other psychics that were phenomenal teachers and started doing psychic readings professionally. And it just that's how I got into the professional aspect of doing readings and teaching and writing.
Well, that sounds pretty cool. So you didn't have any near-death experiences or anything like that?
I did not have anything major. I was not struck by lightning. I didn't get hit on the head and woke up with healing powers. I remember from a very young age being able to see people's life paths, being able to sense energy or feel or see spirits. I remember being able to be out of body. I used to push myself out of body when I was little, when I was 5 years old, and I used to do it all the time. And I'd ask my parents, what is this? And why do you do this? And they had no idea what I was talking about. And I still remember it very vividly. It was just, I had all these gifts, and it was just who I was, and nobody really could explain to me what was happening. It was very interesting. Although I do come from a line of psychics, I had a little bit more abilities with being able to astral travel. And being able to talk with spirits and whatnot and read energies a little bit more, I guess I would say, advanced than kind of my current line through my dad, my grandma and such.
I think it's interesting how times have changed and people are much more open to individuals having the gifts, or if they have children, they're not shutting them down as much and making them feel crazy.
Well, and, like I said, I come from a line of them. So they did know a lot of the psychic visions and all that. They knew what all that was and they encouraged it. But what people don't realize when they have psychic children is, and you, I'm sure, have talked about this or know about this, but everybody who does what we do, our gifts are all very different. Not everybody's set with this set of gifts and that set of gifts. You take more from some areas and less from others. And so as psychics and as intuitives and teachers, we're all have a different set of skills. And so some of the skills that I had, they were very familiar with, and others they were not. So, but it is interesting though. I do run into a lot of parents that their first reaction, because I do a lot of kids pro bono, where I help the parents or help explain, because I feel for the children, and a lot of them can't afford, to pay to have some consulting done. And I'm kind of shocked at how much that everybody still wants to explain their own intuition away, their kids' intuition. That is their first gut reaction. But you're right, it is more acceptable now than it was before.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, individuals that are our age, it was more challenging. I mean, I know that my mom was totally psychic. She busted me too many times. Not that I would ever admit to her ever,
right,
what she busted me on. But she would never own that.
Right. Right.
So.
Yeah, my grandma was the same way. But yeah, you talk about it more. It's more okay to have conversation about it for sure.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
So we're going to be talking about energy vampires. And so for people that are unfamiliar with that term, what is an energy vampire?
Well, let's start from square one.
Okay.
As most people should know who is listening to your program, everybody basically has a set of intuitive skills, or that they may or may not recognize or acknowledge, like your mother, and it just the extent or the advancement of that skill just depends. Like everybody's not set to do what me and you do, but they still have a little bit of that. And the way I explain that is everybody can play sports, but you're not all going to be in like the NBA or NFL, right? Mm-hmm. So because we're like that, and because that we're all naturally like that, we read energy all the time. And this is something that I find very interesting that people don't pay attention to. Yet if I use this analogy, they get it every single time. People think that they read other people, like I like that person or don't like that person, based on a quick assessment on how they look visually. How their body language is, how they're dressed, maybe do they look approachable. But what they don't realize is they're actually reading their energy, but their brain, they don't make that connection. And so when I tell somebody, well, let's imagine that you're going to walk into a bar, and the reason I use a bar, if you ever notice, is because most people are on high alert, kind of energetically, like their intuitive senses stand up for a second when they walk into a bar, because they're not really sure if it's going to be safe, not safe, high energy, low energy, So if you were walking into a bar and you noticed that there was two people there, over 90% of the time, I can tell somebody, pick the person who you feel is most approachable if their back was towards you, and they would get it almost every single time. And it's because that's when you start paying attention that you're actually reading people's energy. So because we're all energy readers and nobody really understands that that's what we're doing, what happens is negative energy or energy vampires have a huge effect on your own physical body and your own self and your own path. So what a negative energy person or energy vampire person would be is, as we all carry energy like a charge, we carry energy like a battery. You kind of imagine yourself like the Energizer Bunny. And if you know and you're good at keeping your energy high and holding your energy in, you're fine. But some people don't know how to do that, and so they constantly need energy supply. When they need energy supply, they pull it from other people. When they pull it from other people, that's what's called an energy vampire, because they don't know how to keep their energy strong. So they have to constantly pull it from somebody else. So that's what an energy vampire is somebody who cannot keep their energy strong enough to have like a reserve. So they continue to just grab it from anywhere they can.
So why would somebody do that? Is it because they're depressed, or there's something going on with them, or is it part of their character, part of their makeup?
It can be all of those things. Because what those types of people tend to have low energy, okay? And they tend to like not, again, have a buffer for a reserve. And so what low energy is, anybody who can be depressed, negative thinking is huge. Your perception on life, your view, your character, a lot of that is taught and adapted by being around other negative people. So when you get in a pattern of a negative mindset and things are just, oh, this is going to go bad because of this. And everybody always is, or I don't want to say everybody, let me take that back. A lot of people, 70% of the population, tend to go towards the negative all the time. And it's interesting, and I'm sure you notice this as you do readings. If somebody loses their job, if somebody is worried about going on a trip, all of these things, what is the first thing that happens is they first go to the worst thing possible. Oh my God, there's no jobs out there. I'm not going to be able to feed my family. I'm probably going to lose my house. I'm going to be homeless. They go from 0 to 60 in 1.2 seconds at the worst case scenario. And so a lot of that is learned and trained behavior, and it becomes a pattern in your character and who you are. Some of the stuff, if you get into some major depression, things of that nature, some of that is psychological, and some of that is physical, where it needs treated, right? So there can be a lot of different reasons that you be that way. the thing is, that's kind of interesting is most people who would be an energy vampire, they don't tend to recognize themselves as being an energy vampire. Of course, they think that they're just like everybody else, and that you're being unrealistic, and that you're being too optimistic, and you're not really seeing the world how it really is. They get really kind of angry about it sometimes, but there's a lot of different reasons. It can be physical. It can be in your character. It can be psychological, but they tend to veer towards the negative.
Well, you have the chat room already asking questions, and they're good ones, and so I'm just going to shoot them at you. And
Excellent.
So this is from Neutron, and his question is a narcissist, narcissistic personality disorder, considered an energy vampire?
Yes. That's not even a test. Absolutely, 100%. Because they're always, again, they're looking outside of themselves. They view the world a certain way. And that narcissists tend to have a negative energy usually attached to them. There's not really a narcissist and a positive person. They don't usually go hand in hand, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, let's face it, they don't. So, yes, they would be an energy vampire.
Okay, and this one's from American Road Warrior, and it's an interesting take. Can you be both an energy vampire and a constant victim of energy vampires?
Yes, you can. And here's another thing that I want to address that question brought up. Almost everybody on this planet has or will be at some point in their time an energy vampire, even if it's for a very short time. Because you go through things in your life and people pass away, people lose jobs. Even if you're mostly a positive person, there will be times in your life that you get sad or depressed, or you're having a bout of, some rocky stuff going on in your life for like a week or two or even 4 or whatever. So don't be too entirely judgmental on energy vampires. Everyone's been one, or will be at some point in time, most likely. If they haven't, well, maybe the Dalai Lama hasn't, but you know what I'm saying. But so let's kind of be clear. We're human, and that can happen. However, it's if you consistently stay that way is the problem. Usually people who have a bout of things that bring them down, bring their energy down, and where they actually need some support and help from other people, usually most positive people that are not going to stay an energy vampire, they bounce back rather quickly, days, weeks, maybe even a few months. But once you start going past a few months that you're in that behavior mode, yeah, then you're kind of locked into that energy vampire as part of who you are. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. If you were to, all right, so you're saying that we can all have these periods, which is cool. And yeah. I totally get that. But, then there are people that is their modus operandi. If you were to throw just some kind of ballpark number, what % of the population do you feel are locked in that behavior?
70% or higher.
Well, hell, that's almost everybody.
I'm serious, and I don't like it to be that way. That's why I try to educate people as much as I can, because you have so much control over that. But it's truth be told, what happens is people are learning the same behavior patterns from everybody, and they're consistently teaching each other and their children how to think this way. And so it's a learned and it's a taught behavior in most instances. And so, everybody goes to, well, I know that it's not good. Like, let's say you lose your job. Do you know how many people probably come to you from your family and friends and just go like, oh my God, that's so horrible. And what are you going to do? And that jobs are really hard right now. We're in this really hard period. And do you think you're going to be able to do something? Or are you going to be able to make your house payment? How many people do that? Think about it, 70% most likely of the people. And if it's not, you're very lucky. But people immediately go into fear. They become fear-based. And until people stop becoming fear-based so much and then stop teaching it and stop surrounding themselves with other people that are fear-based, it's going to continue to be a pattern. And once you and the interesting thing is, universal law-wise even, once you start shifting that behavior, your whole life changes, your whole path changes. And you will actually start noticing that it doesn't always turn out like all those people say it's going to. it doesn't. Things actually can turn out very positively. Once you start moving away from the fear, you stop becoming an energy vampire. But that, getting back to that one question, can they also be victims of other energy vampires? 100%. Energy vampires flock together like a crew. They really do. They flock together like a crew. Because you know what? They feed each other. They feed each other, and then they also feed the behavior. So they're like, oh, God, yeah, that's horrible. And, yeah, this could happen. And, man, you're down and out, and I'm so sorry. You're probably is going to get worse. You know what happened to me? They flock together. The like minds flock together. So if you have a positive person in that type of situation, what happens is everybody becomes uncomfortable. The positive person becomes uncomfortable, and the negative people become uncomfortable, and they start pulling apart, and they start having less contact, or there's a lot of friction where they're fighting until there's contact broken, and they start to separate. And that's why sometimes when people develop on a spiritual level and they become like they find their own spirituality and they start finding a positive area to themselves and their life starts getting better and they actually start noticing that they're changing things around and they go from the negative to the positive, that they start losing old friends and they start losing family. And I get that a lot, questions about that. And they was, why? Why would I lose my old friends? Because you no longer match their vibration. And if you do not match their vibration, it makes everybody uncomfortable.
Amen, sister. I mean, I will do sessions with clients and see that they're working through stuff. They're nurturing themselves. They're loving themselves. They're shifting their energy. And I will tell them straight up, it's like, if you see that you are losing friends or your family gets pissed off at you or blah, 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 whatever it is, it's like, that's an indicator that you are making progress. So don't be upset with it. 100%. Be grateful for it.
Yep, 100%. That's a sign.
It definitely is a sign. Do energy vampires, I mean, you're saying 70%, but do energy vampires have better success preying on one kind of individual versus another kind of individual?
Well, they obviously would have a lot more success preying on somebody who wasn't like me or you. Our energy is very strong. And so they don't have very much success. And so, yes, they definitely are more adept. And that's why it's literally like vampires, That's why they're the vampires. Let's take Twilight. They're going to go for the weak ones, So they go after the people who they easily sway in their mindset. They go after the people who don't take much work, that they're kind of matching that negativity, that negative vibe. And they go after those people mostly. However, me and you can also be susceptible to energy vampires as well when we're not paying attention, or, we can be blindsided and tackled by one, right? Energetically, it's like, oh, where'd that come from? So we're all susceptible. It's just, and this is actually a good thing for your listeners to know. If you do have strong energy and if you are learning, if you are advancing like some of your clients and whatnot, and one day you get blindsided by having an energy vampire. So what happens, to explain what the blind side would be like, let's say you go hang out with an old friend. They're having really bad trouble with a relationship or something. They're really upset. They're not taking your advice. It's very exhausting. You have lunch with them. You leave. When you leave, you are so tired, you want to go take a nap. So that's because your friend has now sucked all your energy from you because they're wanting you to help them. They want something from you. They crave something from you. They crave help, but they don't really want it, so they're pulling and pulling on your energy the whole time. Now, when you notice that happening, what you need to do is be preventative for the future. It can and it will happen to me every now and again. And what you do is you pay attention.
We're gonna get to what to do. I mean, we got lots of time.
Okay, so don't jump ahead. Okay.
Yeah, don't jump ahead. Don't.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Lead. Following your lead.
Okay. But I'll tell you what, they're like going crazy in the chat room. So they're loving you, I'm guessing.
Awesome.
But we have another great question. Well, a couple of good questions. And then another one from American Road Warrior. And so is losing energy a direct result of holes? And he put the atomic shield. I'm assuming he means in the aura. You know, and actually I had a question, is it because they have weak boundaries?
Not always, but yes, it can be. It can be, but it's not always the case. Because like I said, me and you are quite strong. My energy field is very, in fact, when I have healers work on me, that kind of freaks them out because I'm so intense. But, you know, some of us will let our guard down sometimes when we have a close friend or family member that you want to spend time with, you know what I mean? And maybe they're going through rough times. So you're thinking, well, I'm going to be there for that person. So you kind of do let your guard down in some instances, even when you're a strong energy. But for the most part, yes, the people who are pulling from each other, their energy fields are not strong. So I guess you could say they have holes in their fields. But they're not practicing a strong barrier. They're not consciously aware of having that barrier and what it takes to maintain a healthy barrier.
Well, what was interesting in reading your book was how it almost seemed like there are correlations between the concept of an energy vampire sucking on your energy and attached entities. I mean, so have you ever worked with entity attachments? When you say entity attachments, because I do know of several different kinds, are you talking about otherworldly or as far as like star type entities, or are you talking about home-based spirits would be more what I'd call it? What type? I mean, I think it could be both. My experience has been more, you know, the amount of, I call them alien entities that attach, you know, in my experience is only a percentage of that bigger phenomena.
Yeah. There's a small, I've had some star entities come in and I've seen them attach themselves to people. I tend to notice that they tend to not like to attach themselves as often as maybe some more earth-based spirits would. You know, I do see it on occasion. I just don't see it as often. But any of those attachments, 100%, they can drain your energy. And the interesting thing, which people don't know, which I'm actually going to do another book called When Spirit Speaks. They don't realize that when they attach themselves to you, they don't just try to bring your energy, your vibration down energetically, but they actually can put thoughts into your head. And when they begin to give you a thought pattern enough, because people don't realize how much spirits talk to people, how much, and spirit communication is through thought. You know, they're very telepathic. They're telepathic with everybody. That's how you talk in the spirit world. And so they still are telepathic with us, even though that they're on the spirit realm and we're on the physical realm. And so they don't realize how many times that you're thinking, oh, I should stop into this store. And a lot of that is your guide or a spirit going, hey, stop into this store, stop into this store. And then you finally hear them. You think it's your own thought process. And then maybe you run into a long lost friend, you know, something of that nature. So when they do attach themselves to you, they definitely attach themselves, pull your energy down, but they also start with a thought process, trying to make you feel like you're not good enough, or just put weird thoughts into your head that make your vibration go down.
But you're talking about like what I would call an attached entity versus a guide or an angel type energy.
Correct.
Yeah, definitely need to keep those separate, because I don't want people going, oh, well, you know, I talked to my guide and it sucked my energy. It's like, well, then it ain't your guide.
And that is a good point that you brought up, though, because I have had people tell me that. And I'll be like, well, I can tell you right now it was not your guide or an angel, because they do not ever affect your life in a negative manner, ever. I mean, you know, their intent is to help you and guide you. And they're very positive in their words and encouragement and in all of that. You will not run into guides and angels that are trying to impact your life negatively, or, you know, make you think in a different manner that would make you feel upset or depressed or whatever, right?
You mean your guide won't tell you that you suck?
No.
Really?
No, really, no. They're kind of your cheerleader. But I like the way you put that. Yeah.
What about the victim? You know, we're talking, well, no, actually, I already kind of asked that question. For people that are victims, you know, and I think there are people, I mean, I can see everybody puts their guard down. I've gotten attacked, you know, I mean, we all have.
Right.
You know, but for those people that go around with low energy and just kind of, a moving target for an energy vampire, do they get any kind of like secondary benefit from their encounter?
They think that they do. They don't, but they think that they do. And that's really interesting. So a lot of those people who play the victim, they actually, they try to cause drama and they try to cause chaos in their life, because what they don't realize is when you're following your own path and you get on you get a high from that in a sense, not a drug high, but intuitively in your soul, you can feel a euphoric type feeling when you like land the job that you want to land. You know you're the place that you want to be. You're there's an excitement and a feeling that you get in your soul. The funny thing that people don't realize is that can be very confused because it's a very closely related feeling when people tend to cause negative drama. They can feel their soul. They can feel that adrenaline. They can feel something inside of their body that they don't normally feel from a positive aspect. And so they kind of are feeding their soul, but they're not feeding it in a positive way. They're feeding it negatively, and they don't understand. Their brain doesn't make the connection that, you're feeding it in a bad way, not a good way. But everybody's searching for that soul feeling. They want to feel their soul. They want to feel their spirit. They want to feel their body, their spiritual body inside. It makes them feel whole. It makes them feel good, And so they get confused. And so they get some type of feeling out of it that feeds them. And they think that that's a good feeling. They get kind of addicted to that. So they go cause chaos, negative behavior and whatnot over and over again.
So what you're saying is that they will go and try to rile up the energy.
Absolutely.
To get things moving. That makes a lot of sense. And I could see where, and I could see where it could go into some riling up some negative energies, making people feel more scared, making people feel paranoid, because those are such strong emotions. And I would think that would produce more energy for them to get. It does.
It does produce more energy, but they're still left with that feeling. Like, for instance, let's say you get road rage. You're really mad at the person in front of you. Like, you're just like cussing this person out, and you're just like, and you've had that feeling inside, and then you go home and you tell people about it, and you can still have that fiery feeling inside your chest. If somebody doesn't have any feeling inside their chest, they'll reach for something. So whether it be a fiery negative type feeling versus a positive euphoric type feeling, it doesn't matter. People crave to have that feeling of being alive inside, that spiritual, that energetic feeling. They just are not educated on what it is and what they're doing. And they don't even realize that they're kind of addicted to just feeling their spiritual body, They don't realize it, but it feels good to them. And so, yes, they go cause chaos and havoc around. That's why you'll have friends or family sometimes that will just stir up trouble, make up things just to make you mad. I mean, I've known people, and I'm sure you have, distant relatives of people that I knew, et cetera, that will call them up and just say things and jab at them and say things until they finally get the person upset. And then once they get the person upset, and this is the other interesting thing, if you're having a good day and somebody calls, well, let's say your friend's having a good day, somebody calls your friend and it's one of her family members, and they just when you're having a good day, your vibration is high. Let's say you vibrate on a scale of 1 to 10. You're having a good day, your vibration is probably around a 7, floating around 7 and 8. And your friend who wants to stir up some issues calls and starts saying little things, and I can't believe you did that and you did this, but just causing trouble, right? They'll do it until you get upset and they pull your vibration down, your friend's vibration down to like a 3, because guess what? That's where their friend hangs out. Their friend hangs out around a 3 or 4. And so once they bring their vibration down, they feel powerful. They feel like, yeah, okay, now this is good. We're matching in our vibration. So it's interesting how that works as well.
That's sad.
Yeah,
I mean, I know that when I get on the phone with people that are energy vampires, I just space out. It's like, ba, 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 ba. Okay. Oh, I guess I should come back here a little bit. You know, like we have a couple more questions from the chat room, and ARW, I will get to yours in a second, but Lorraine's is really good. And so this is from Lorraine, and hers is, when two people always feel refreshed after spending some time together, are the two people feeding off of each other?
No, that's not that. That can be an opposite reaction, and that's a very good question.
That is a good question.
If you're feeling positive and uplifted, that's a whole different thing. That is 100% different. There can actually be people who uplift each other and raise each other's vibration. Like maybe your friend was having a 3-day and you talk to them and you guys go out and have a fun time, or you go to lunch and go to a movie and you laugh and you really enjoy, and all of a sudden you're both at a 7. No, that is the exact opposite. That's raising somebody's vibration. Those are positive people to have in your life. They feel very different. And if you think about it, if you're feeling refreshed and feeling good, that's a very positive thing. If you're feeling depleted, tired, not well, sometimes it can actually make you nauseous so positive effect versus negative effect. Energy vampires will always have a negative effect.
Okay. American Road Warriors question. Can you have bad, negative, or unstable energy and still give an energy vampire a rush?
Let me just clarify that. So they're saying, like, if this particular person has bad negative energy, could it still give a vampire?
So if I have bad mojo and not really much energy anyway, you know, can they still get a rush off of you?
Yes, 100%. Doesn't matter the type of energy. They don't care if you're 5, a 10, a 3, a 2. They don't care. They're just going around and pulling energy from everybody. It doesn't matter.
And so it sounds like this whole thing is unconscious for the most part.
For the most part, yes, it is unconscious. They don't realize what they're doing energetically. But most of those people, if you really, if you took them into a psychologist's office and said, okay, really, let's be truthful here. I mean, they know they're doing negative things, They know they're pulling people's vibrations down. They know they're trying to hurt their feelings. They know they're trying to cause drama. So there's that kind of aspect. But yes, it's pretty much unconscious on an energetic aspect for sure, because a lot of those people aren't even familiar with energy, and they're not familiar with the concept, and they don't think of people as having energy, They don't think of us as being energetic beings. They don't think of any of that. They think they're physical beings and a physical body, and life sucks, and it's hard. Just get used to it,
It just makes me wonder how we learn to do this in the first place. I mean, I guess it's just part of our nature. I mean, I get that part.
Part of it is part of your nature, and this is kind of more of a, I guess, a personal story, but my mother was really, 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 really bad. And I remember from a very young age, I was young, like 3, 4, 5 maybe. I remember always thinking there's something wrong with, I'm not like her. I'm not like her. Like, I remember thinking it all the time. So people who are naturally to the core of their soul not like that, they will tend to try to veer away and find a different path. They will try. But sometimes if they're not taught or they can't find what they're looking for, they can still be kind of stuck in the washing machine of it all, That doesn't mean they'll stay there, but that means that's why we write books like we do. Because, a lot of people have written me and been like, that was so incredibly helpful. I had no idea. And now I know, But so people have asked me, well, why didn't you, who know me? How did you turn out like this? Because you're really different. It's just, I don't know. There's something in my body just from a very young age that I knew I wasn't like those people. I wasn't like, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's just, I've never matched them.
Have you ever encountered anyone who has taken the steps to try to be an energy vampire?
To try to be one?
Mm-hmm.
No. Not. I haven't personally, no.
Okay. I mean, because you're aware that there are people that they try. Which
certain
seems kind of weird and creepy to me, but
yeah, I'm certain that there probably is, but in my line of work, I mean, I scare a lot of people energetically. They kind of tend to want to stay away from me, and so no, they don't. They stay very far away from me.
Oh, and I don't mean necessarily on a personal level, you know what I mean? But just, I mean, actually on the show, I interviewed somebody who was a vampire expert, and, you know, we had this, and he was a practicing energy vampire. And I'm like, you know, people try to do that.
Oh, like that kind of thing. Oh, yeah. I have sorry about that. I have seen, I've heard of that, but I've never actually been around those people myself. Actually, I think I've seen a thing on Taboo. I think I've seen one on Taboo on that exact same thing, actually.
Kind of weird.
Yeah, it is.
You know?
And I don't think that they realize what they're getting themselves into.
You know, it just makes me wonder if trying to develop that kind of energy, I mean, you know, if you have psychic abilities, the more you practice, the more you use them, the more they're going to work and more they're going to function. It just makes me wonder if going down that road, you know, what kind of side effects and repercussions that would have.
Well, you know what? A couple of the things that I wonder about with that in particular is, first of all, they're very uneducated, number one. And number two is they're weakening their own bodies. So they're weakening their own energy system by thinking, like, think about it. If you decided, okay, I have to be an energy vampire and I need to suck people's energy from them. And this is the Taboo show that I remember watching although I didn't remember it when you first said it. If you got into that mindset, you would feel like if you didn't go around, like it would switch how you viewed life. You would feel like if I don't get it, then I'm going to not feel well and I'm going to feel like sick and I'm going to not feel healthy. You know, you would actually be messing your own self up because instead of finding the strength and in all the positive parts of yourself, instead of finding strength within yourself and who you are, now you've become a victim to everybody else that you could potentially be around because you'd have to find victims, right? Mm-hmm. So then you've weakened who you are. You've made yourself not be powerful, but less powerful. Then that's going to affect a whole ball of other things, your life path and everything else. I don't feel like that'd be like being codependent on taking medicine every day or drugs or alcohol. You know, that's a codependency.
Well, like an addiction.
Yeah,
almost.
Exactly. So now you've become weak because you've decided in your brain that you can't function without this. That's just craziness to me. I mean, why would anybody want to make themselves become weak in any aspect? Why wouldn't you want... To me, I feel like being here, being on this planet, and we go through enough trials and tribulations just with life that you really need to find the strength within yourself to make the best life that you can. That's why we're here. We're here to go as deep as within ourselves as we can and find strength and to find peace in there. And the more that you avoid that, the more you're kind of detouring the whole point of why we're here. But then it'll start affecting your environment. You know, your environment becomes weak. Your environment, you know, and here's another thing that people don't realize that I tell them all the time is I can tell you 90% of the time or more, I'd say it's really high. I can tell you your physical body and your environment usually reflects your soul and how healthy that you are and what's going on in there. If you're having turmoil going on inside your soul, your environment is going to be very turmoil-like. If you're having peace going on inside your soul, your environment is going to be very zen. Your body is going to be very zen. Your physical body is definitely a reflection of your spiritual health. And so if they're feeling like they're addicted to somebody's energy on the inside in their spiritual body, can you imagine what that's doing to their environment, their outside, their physical body?
Well, and it just makes me wonder, you know, in medicine, there's the whole concept of homeostasis. And so people that take hormones, for example, you know, they take them to replenish what the body isn't producing. But if you're not supposed to be taking hormones and you do take the hormones, it shuts down the body system so it doesn't work right. Because you're substituting, and just, I love having conversations like this because it just makes me think of all kinds of weird stuff, and it just makes me wonder if individuals who are energy vampires end up doing some damage from not working their own energy system.
Well, I believe that they would for sure, because are you talking about on a physical aspect?
Well, I mean, obviously, if your energy system is compromised, it's going to impact you physically at some point in time. Yeah.
And people don't realize how powerful the mind is on top of that. So let's take you know as well as I know how much that your energetic system, your spiritual body, how much that actually plays a role in your physical health. Everybody thinks it's different. They think, oh, it's my physical body is either good or not good. And if it's not good, then my spirit's going to be affected. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to be sad. I'm going to be scared. They don't realize it's actually the opposite, right? So then you take that into consideration. Then that you've convinced yourself in your mind that you have to pull on other people's energy. Like they give people placebos all the time and they cure themselves because the body is amazing. The body is amazing. The spiritual side of what you can actually accomplish is amazing. They've done studies on this for decades, how bodies can actually heal themselves when people think that they're being healed by a placebo or whatever. It doesn't even matter. So now you take the opposite. And then you go, okay, my body cannot survive without sucking off other people's energy. Well, that's going to have a huge impact on yourself, on your physical body, on the way that you get through life. Because if you believe that strong enough, you're in for a world of hurt. However, I do not think anybody very healthy and very high vibration would actually turn into one of those type of people because it would not feel right to them,
Mm-hmm. All right. Another question from Lorraine, and I guess you'll know or have an idea. And the question is, in Chinese medicine, they believe that humans have two kinds of energy, one that can be replenished and one with food and rest, and the other is finite, and once it's spent, it's gone. Mm-hmm. Do you know which energy the vampires drain?
I would say it was not the finite one. I would say it would be the one that, because that's what happens is people replenish their energy all the time. The energy I'm talking about is replenishable. You recharge every night or every so many hours just by doing different things, by, sitting down and relaxing, by having a Zen moment where you're just feeling good about having dinner that night or having a good conversation with a friend or sleeping. You replenish that consistently. Okay. So that would be what I think that she's wondering about, which would be the replenishable energy.
Mm-hmm. So I know, from my own work with clients that people that are traditional victims, once they kind of figure out what's going on, want to make changes. And we're going to talk about that whole, protection thing here in a second. But in your experience, what about the energy vampires? The hardcore energy vampires themselves. Do they ever want to change, or do they feel fairly satisfied with what they have going on in their lives?
They're fairly satisfied with what they have going in their lives. I mean, it's sad, but it's after even just doing readings for 20 some plus years, and I'm sure that you've noticed that yourself. You can tell immediately when a person will want to change, or like, for instance, if an energy vampire calls and they're having all these different issues and whatnot going in their life, and they're looking for advice, immediately if they really want to take the advice, and they're actually looking for a different path, or if they're looking for you to try to tell them the path that they want to see, and then they get frustrated and angry and negative, whatever.
And then they don't do it anyway.
Exactly right. And then they call you 6 months later and go, well, this didn't work. And then you're like, well, did you do these things that we talked about? And they're like, well, no, it's a whole cycle. So I don't see clients like that anymore. Because I made a decision a while ago. I couldn't do that. So yes, they're happy with where they're at and they really don't want to change. And that's something, I think I found that more difficult on a personal level than I did on a professional level, because some of those people that you're talking about have been friends of mine they've been family members, you know, and as a empathetic person, I can always feel their pain. I'm a very strong empath, so I can feel that they're miserable, and I can, as a psychic person, see a better path for them. And it's very frustrating when you see somebody who doesn't want to help themselves because they are getting something out of that negative cycle they're in. And it's harder for me on like I said, on a personal level, to watch them and accept that is the way that they want to go, and they don't want to change. Then it is on a professional level, you know, because then you feel for those people in a different way, because you've known them for a very long time. If you have a client that comes in, you know, you're just learning about them now, so it's very different, and it's sad and it's hard to accept. But I do accept it. I do it really well now. I just recognize it right away. It's easier. Now I'm just like, well, that's too bad. I really liked that person. So, you know.
Okay, so I'm looking at the clock. We have like 10 minutes left. So let's talk about the part, what we can do about it. So if you think you're the victim of an energy vampire, what can you do? I'm guessing like stringing garlic around your neck isn't going to work. Right. A little cross, some holy water. I don't know, the holy water, maybe. You could hit them with the cross. You know, I could always come up with stuff. Throw the garlic at them.
There you go. Throw the garlic in the holy water, then use that.
I have to laugh. So I'm asking what we should do about it, and they put it in the chat room. Hope she doesn't say anything about garlic. It's like, oops, too late.
Okay, well, a couple of the things. One is you want to recognize, number one, for all of your listeners, pay more attention to how people make you feel in your life. Do not just think that they're a physical person with an emotional impact, because that's 50% of who they are. The other 50% of who they are is their energy. And when you are near somebody's energy, it will imbalance or balance your own energy. Okay? So number one, be very aware that the people in your life are 50% who you think they are, and they're another 50% of energy that you probably never thought of before. So then the second step is pay attention to how all people in your life make you feel. Do they make you feel tired and drained? Or do they make you feel really happy and you get excited to be around those people? And I'm talking, I don't care if it's your kids, your spouse, your mother, your father, friends, workers, whoever they are, who you spend a lot of time with. Be a lot more aware of how people make you feel. Don't overthink it. Don't go, well, it's because they're saying this or because it's saying that. Take every emotional tie out of it. How do you feel when you're around them? How do you feel when you leave them? How do you feel before they come home or before you go to work? How do you feel? Okay, that's the second thing. Third thing is you will start noticing a difference. You will start noticing that some people make you feel good, others don't make you feel so good. Then the people who don't make you feel so good, you'll start justifying 18 million reasons why that they probably didn't make you feel good and how they're really good people. Okay, that doesn't really work out very well. So the people who, that is true, they do it all the time. The people who make you feel good, you can eliminate those people. Don't worry about those. The other group that you start, and you take a piece of paper. This would be even better to do it this way. Kind of keep a journal, put it in your iPhone, whatever. So the people who you notice start making you not feel so good, then start paying attention. Is it just maybe that week, that day, or is it consistent? Are you consistently not feeling very awesome around these people? Because maybe your spouse had a bad day, maybe your sister did, whoever, and maybe they're not like that all the time, okay? So then you eliminate the group that's not like that all the time, and you're going to come to a core group of people. Then that is the hard part, because if you are married, dating, or something with these people, living with these people, you have some hard choices to make. If you're not, it's going to be a lot easier, because what you want to do with an energy vampire, once you realize that they have that make you feel a certain way, is you want to start eliminating as much contact as you can. Now, I'm not saying everybody who's out there who definitely finds out that their spouse is making them feel a certain way, run out and get a divorce, because that doesn't work for everybody either. And I don't ever suggest that, because you kind of have to do those types of things on your own time and take other things into consideration, right? But what you want to do to protect yourself is you want to start eliminating so much drama with those people. So for instance, I have tricks for that. If let's say you go to a barbecue and one of your cousins is like that, you notice you see them quite often and more often than you want to. If when they start with, oh God, now this happened at work today and that happened, you can do a couple of things. Oh, sorry, I need to get up and do this. And so you kind of cut your call short, you cut your visit short, you remove yourself. If you can't do that, the second thing you can do is you can change the subject. You can always change the subject with an energy vampire to talk about something they love to talk about. Once you get them on that subject, and people, you're smart. You can think of anything that somebody loves and get them talking about it, and it'll change everything, and they won't be draining you so much more. You kind of sidetrack them by getting them talking about something they like. Raises their vibration, they stop sucking off you. So then you want to do, the other things that you want to do is you start eliminating them out of your life or cut them out as much as you can, minimize the contact that you have with them. And then there's also meditations that you can do where you're imagining a bubble around yourself. And I don't think I have time to go through that, but the gist of it is white light comes through the bubble. You imagine the bubble coming around you, fills with that white light. Imagine it's a very strong bubble, kind of like you're the boy or the girl in the bubble, and you fill it as much strong energy as you can, and it's really strong and it's around you. So you would want to do that before or after that you go see any energy vampires. If you've been attacked by an energy vampire, you come home, there's a lot of other things you can do. Water gets rid of it. If you want to take a shower, hot tub, go swim in the ocean, go swim in your pool, whatever. Water will actually pull, energy also attaches to the outside of your body. And when you use water, like even on your hands or whatever, I would suggest taking showers. It actually washes that off. That's one thing. Incense, smells, sandalwood, things like that can actually ground your body. Because what you're having to do at that point is ground yourself so that you're grounded into the earth's energy and pulling some more energy back into your body. Chocolate is a good one. Chocolate is a good
I like
grounder.
that.
Yeah, it is a good one. And I would say one-on-one physical activity with your partner is also another good one, which is weird.
Oh, I
but
like
it's true.
that one too. But that raises your vibration, so that's good. All right. So I usually don't take questions this late, but this one I really feel compelled I need to ask. And this is from Box of Rain. And the question is, what if your children or your child is an energy vampire?
I know, that can be hard. Well, it depends on how old the child is. I mean, if the child is already raised 18, 19, 20 and whatnot, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. They are their own person. They are their own little adult, right? So you still have to protect yourself so that you're not feeling attacked. You still have to protect yourself, minimize, because there's not a lot of things that you can really do if you have an adult vampire child, because usually then they get very defensive at that point in time, in my experience, and they don't really want to hear what you have to say. And you can just be positive to them when you're around them, but try not to feed into any drama or issues or whatnot that would cause them to drain you. If they're children, that doesn't usually happen. I hate to tell you guys this, but it doesn't usually happen unless you've raised them a certain way. Maybe your spouse might be a little bit more negative, but what you can do is you start pointing things out to them, pointing out all the possibilities of good things that can happen, and do things that kind of raise their own vibration and keep them happy. Like start bringing them out of the negative mindset and start introducing more of a positive mindset to them, because they can very well shift. Yeah, sorry.
Nope, that's okay. But we are out of time. And so your book, Energy Vampires, is it available like on Amazon and, outlets like that?
Amazon.com. Amazon.com I'm kind of exclusive there. My stuff sells the best there. So Amazon.com, just Google Jennifer O'Neill. All my books will pop up.
Wonderful. Jennifer, you were a delight. I'm so glad that you came on.
Thank you. I very much enjoyed your show. You were fun. You were a very good interviewer, and I had a blast. And thank you.
Well, thank you. All right. And you have a great night, and I will talk to you again soon.
Okay.
All right.
Aloha.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's Jennifer O'Neill. Her book is Energy Vampires, one of her books. Her webpage is hawaiihealings.com. And we'll be back with Rick Delano after these words from our sponsors.
Just Energy Radio with your host, Dr. Rita Louise, will return right after these messages.